before playlists, before streaming, before melodies became the language of modern rap, there was a sound that felt like a whisper from the shadows. It didn't come from the coasts. It didn't follow the rules. It came from cold nights, broken homes, and quiet prayers spoken in Cleveland, Ohio. Bone Thugs-n-Harmony emerged at a time when hip-hop was loud, aggressive, and territorial. But their music felt spiritual, almost haunting. They rapped fast, but their words lingered. They sang in harmony, but their stories were soaked in pain, survival, and faith. In an era obsessed with dominance, Bone Thugs-n-Harmony chose vulnerability. They spoke openly about death, loss, heaven, hell, and the fear of not making it out alive. Their voices blurred together like a choir raised in the streets, creating a sound that felt both sacred and dangerous. You didn't just hear Bone Thugs-n-Harmony, you felt them. Their music sounded like a conversation with God in the middle of chaos, a confession wrapped in rhythm, a survival manual for kids who knew tomorrow wasn't promised. What made Bone Thugs-n-Harmony revolutionary wasn't just their speed or their harmonies. It was their refusal to choose between melody and menace, between faith and fear, between singing and rapping. They existed in the in-between space, where pain turns poetic and hope struggles to breathe. Long before melodic rap became the standard, Bone Thugs-n-Harmony proved that emotion could move crowds just as powerfully as aggression. This is not just a story of a rap group. It's the story of 5 young men who turned trauma into timeless music, who carried away their city on every verse, and who built a legacy that still echoes through hip-hop's DNA. This is Bone Thugs-n-Harmony, where harmony met the streets, and history was forever changed. Cleveland, Ohio was never meant to be the birthplace of a hip-hop revolution. Overshadowed by coastal giants and dismissed as flyover territory, the city rarely appeared in conversations about music, culture, or opportunity. But in the early 1990s, Cleveland streets told stories that couldn't stay silent. Abandoned factories, struggling neighborhoods, and generational poverty shaped an environment where survival wasn't guaranteed and dreams felt distant. For 5 young men growing up in this reality, music wasn't a hobby, it was a lifeline. Before the world knew them as Bone Thugs-n-Harmony, they were just kids trying to escape circumstances designed to break them. Lazy bone, crazy bone, busy bone, wishbone, and flesh and bone came from fractured families and unstable homes, bonded not by fame, but by shared struggle. Many nights were spent without certainty of food, safety, or tomorrow. But through all the chaos, there was one constant: sound. They absorbed everything around them: church choirs, R&B radio, street rap, and Midwest soul, melding it into something entirely new. They didn't rap like anyone else because their lives didn't look like anyone else's. Their delivery was fast, almost frantic, as if racing against time itself. Their harmonies felt spiritual, echoing gospel traditions while still rooted in the streets. Lyrics reflected fear, faith, violence, loyalty, and hope, often all in the same verse. Death wasn't a metaphor, it was a neighbor. God wasn't distant. He was someone you spoke to nightly, just in case morning never came. Calling themselves Bone Enterprise, the group recorded rough demos with whatever resources they could scrape together. Studios were luxuries they couldn't afford, so creativity replaced equipment. They performed at local shows, talent nights, and anywhere that would let them touch a microphone. Rejection was constant. Labels didn't know what to do with a group that sang and rapped at the same time, especially one from a city no one was checking for. But instead of softening their sound, they leaned further into it. What set them apart wasn't just talent. It was belief. They believed their difference was their weapon. Where others saw risk, they saw destiny. Every verse was sharpened by hunger. Every harmony layered with desperation. They weren't chasing trends. They were chasing escape. Cleveland wasn't just their hometown. It was the pressure that forged them, the pain that gave their music weight, and the reason their voices sounded so urgent. By the time they left Ohio, Bone Enterprise wasn't just a group, it was a mission. 5 voices moving as one, carrying the echoes of Cleveland's forgotten streets with them. They didn't know fame was coming. They didn't know history was waiting. All they knew was that staying silent was no longer an option. Leaving Cleveland didn't mean leaving struggle behind. When Bone Enterprise headed to Los Angeles, they carried nothing but demos, belief, and desperation. The West Coast in the early 90s was a different world. Sun-soaked streets masking a ruthless music industry, that rarely gave chances to outsiders, especially from the Midwest. Labels were chasing gangster rap and familiar formulas, not five young men who harmonized about death and salvation. Doors closed quickly. Money ran out even faster. Then came the moment that would change everything. After a show in Los Angeles, Bone Enterprise learned that Eazy-E, the legendary co-founder of NWA and Ruthless Records, was in the building. With no meeting scheduled and no introductions lined up, they made a split-second decision: run him down. Literally. In a move driven by pure survival instinct, they chased Eazy-E through the parking lot, shouting for him to listen, to give them just one song, 1 minute, one chance. Most artists would have been ignored, but something about their hunger stopped him. Eazy took the demo and he listened. What came through the speakers didn't sound like anything else in hip-hop. The speed was relentless, but the harmonies were smooth. The lyrics were dark, but the delivery felt almost holy. Eazy immediately recognized the difference. Where others saw risk, he saw evolution. Within days, Bone Enterprise became Bone Thugs-N-Harmony, signed to Ruthless Records under Eazy's direct mentorship. Eazy didn't try to change them. Instead, he sharpened them. He pushed their work ethic, refined their image, and taught them how to survive the business without losing their soul. For the first time, the group had structure, but also protection. Under Ruthless, their sound stayed raw, melodic, and unapologetically theirs. In 1994, Creepin' on Occam introduced the world to Bone Thugs-N-Harmony. Thuggish Ruggish Bone wasn't just a song, it was a warning. The streets responded. Radio followed. For the first time, Cleveland's voice echoed nationwide. Bone Thugs-N-Harmony weren't just newcomers, they were disruptors. And with Eazy behind them, they were no longer chasing the industry. The industry had to catch up. By 1995, Bone Thugs-N-Harmony were no longer just promising newcomers. They were standing at the edge of something monumental. The hunger that once fueled their survival had evolved into focus. Inside the studio, their voices moved like instruments, layering harmonies with precision, urgency, and emotion. Every verse felt like a confession, every hook like a prayer. They weren't trying to chase hits. They were documenting life as they knew it, fragile, violent, spiritual, and unpredictable. When 1999 Eternal arrived, it didn't sound like a debut album. It sounded like a prophecy, dark, melodic, and unapologetically introspective. The project painted vivid pictures of street life while constantly questioning mortality. Bone Thugs-N-Harmony spoke openly about death not as shock value, but as inevitability. Heaven and hell existed in the same breath. Violence and vulnerability lived in the same verse. Their rapid-fire delivery felt like time running out, as if each bar was racing against fate. Songs like First of the Month transformed struggle into celebration, turning everyday survival into triumph. Meanwhile, the Crossroads cut even deeper, born from grief, loss, and reflection. Initially written to honor fallen friends, the song took on new meaning after the sudden death of Eazy-E in 1995. The record became a universal message of mourning and hope, bridging hip-hop, R&B, and gospel audiences. When the Crossroads reached the world, it didn't just chart, it healed. 8 weeks at #1 and a Grammy later, Bone Thugs-N-Harmony had created one of the most emotionally powerful songs in hip-hop history. 1999 Eternal dominated charts, streets, and airwaves, proving that music rooted in pain could reach global heights. But success came at a cost. Fame amplified pressure, expectations, and loss. The mentor who believed in them was gone, leaving a void that money and awards couldn't fill. Still, the album solidified their place in history. Bone Thugs-N-Harmony had done the impossible. They changed the sound of hip-hop without compromising who they were. At their peak, they weren't just artists, they were a movement, a reminder that melody could carry pain, that speed could carry soul, and that even in darkness, harmony could make something immortal. Success didn't bring peace. It brought pressure. After 1999 Eternal, Bone Thugs-N-Harmony stood on top of the world, but the ground beneath them was already cracking. The sudden death of Eazy removed more than a mentor. It removed their shield. Without his guidance, the group was forced to navigate an unforgiving industry alone, while still grieving the man who believed in them when no one else did. Fame magnified everything. Ego, insecurity, exhaustion, and the bond that once felt unbreakable began to strain. Behind the scenes, business disputes and creative disagreements surfaced. Money moved faster than understanding, and trust became fragile. Flesh and bones legal troubles led to incarceration, physically separating the group and emotionally shaking their foundation. The harmony that once felt effortless now required effort, patience, and compromise. Yet even in fragmentation, their ambition remained intact. In 1997, Bone Thugs-N-Harmony released The Art of War, a double album that reflected both their dominance and their internal conflict. The project was massive, aggressive, and unapologetically bold, an album that sounded like five voices fighting for survival while still moving in the same direction. Tracks like Look Into My Eyes revealed vulnerability and introspection, while If I Could Teach the World spoke to regret, responsibility, and growth. The album proved they could evolve, but also exposed the emotional cost of their success. As tensions rose, individual paths began to form. Solo projects emerged not as acts of betrayal, but as expressions of identity. Busy Bones' raw honesty, Crazy Bones' lyrical precision, and Lazy Bones' leadership each carved separate lanes. What once felt like unity now felt like negotiation. The group didn't fall apart overnight. It fractured slowly, quietly, and painfully. Bone Thugs-N-Harmony were still legends, but the war was no longer just with the world. It was within, and in that battle, survival meant learning whether brotherhood could exist beyond fame, pressure, and loss. By the early 2000s, the noise around Bone Thugs-N-Harmony had changed. Hip-hop was evolving, trends were shifting, and the industry that once chased them now questioned their relevance. But Bone Thugs-N-Harmony had never been built on trends. They were built on truth. While the group's unity remained fragile, their purpose never disappeared. Each member carried the weight of the past differently, but all roads kept leading back to the same foundation: faith, survival, and the need to be heard. Reunions came in waves, sometimes incomplete, sometimes tense, but always meaningful. When Bone Thugs-N-Harmony returned with strength and loyalty in 2007, it wasn't nostalgia, it was defiance. The album proved their voices still mattered, their harmony still hit, and their message still resonated. It debuted at #1, silencing doubts and reminding the industry that longevity isn't accidental, it's earned. The group didn't sound frozen in time. They sounded seasoned, reflective, and resilient. Faith became more central than ever. Their music leaned deeper into spirituality, redemption, and accountability. Life had tested them: incarceration, addiction, loss, and near collapse, but survival reshaped their perspective. They weren't just rapping about making it out anymore. They were rapping about staying alive once you did. Bone Thugs-N-Harmony became living proof that growth doesn't erase pain. It gives it purpose. Even as mainstream attention shifted, their influence expanded quietly but powerfully. A new generation of artists borrowed their melodic flows, emotional honesty, and spiritual undertones. What once sounded too different now felt foundational. Bone Thugs-N-Harmony weren't chasing relevance. They were embedded in hip-hop's DNA. Redemption didn't come as a clean ending. It came in moments, on stage reunions, in verses filled with gratitude, in harmonies that still locked in perfectly after years apart. Against all odds, the voices that once rose from Cleveland's forgotten streets endured. Not flawless, not untouched, but unbroken. Bone Thugs-N-Harmony didn't just survive hip-hop's eras. They outlived them, and in doing so, they secured a legacy that no trend could ever erase. Interesting facts. Only group to work closely with Eazy-E before his death, Bone Thugs-N-Harmony were the last group Eazy-E personally signed and mentored before passing in 1995. Their first major project, Creepin' on Ah Come Up, was directly overseen by him, making their early sound inseparable from his influence. Pioneers of melodic rap. Before melodic flows were mainstream, Bone Thugs-N-Harmony blended rap with harmonized singing, creating a style that influenced future generations of artists like Drake, Travis Scott, and Migos. Their technique of fast-paced chopper, rap, combined with melody, was revolutionary. The Crossroads was a global phenomenon, written to honor lost friends and later dedicated to Eazy-E. The Crossroads reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, won a Grammy Award for Best Rap Performance by a duo or group in 1997, and remains one of the most celebrated emotional hip-hop songs ever. 1999 Eternal Album Legacy. The album debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 and included multiple hits that crossed over the pop and R&B charts. It solidified Bone Thugs-n-Harmony as one of the first Midwest hip-hop groups to achieve international fame. Flesh and Bone's incarceration. One of the original 5 members, Flesh and Bone, served long-term prison time, yet remained officially part of the group. His absence impacted album releases and touring, but the group always considered him integral to their identity. Grammy recognition. In addition to the Crossroads, the group received multiple nominations, including for Best Rap Performance by a duo or group for First of the Month and East 1999. Their influence extended beyond commercial success, shaping critical hip-hop discourse. Longevity in hip-hop. Despite internal struggles, solo projects, and shifting trends, all 5 original members reunited multiple times, rare for groups in hip-hop. They celebrated over 25 years of performing together, inspiring both fans and artists across generations. Cross-genre influence. Beyond hip-hop, Bone Thugs-n-Harmony influenced R&B, gospel, and pop artists. Their harmonic layering and rapid flows were sampled or cited by artists in genres that rarely intersected with street rap, demonstrating the versatility and universality of their style. Cleveland roots are central. Every member's lyrics frequently reference Cleveland streets, neighborhoods, and struggles. Their city remains a spiritual and creative touchstone, even as the group's fame became global. Cultural recognition. The group is often cited as one of the greatest hip-hop groups of all time, frequently appearing in lists celebrating innovation, influence, and impact on the evolution of rap music. Bone Thugs-n-Harmony's story is more than music. It's a testament to survival, faith, and brotherhood. From forgotten streets of Cleveland to international stages, they transformed struggle into harmony, loss into lyrics, and pain into power. Their voices carried not just rhythm and rhyme, but the soul of a city that rarely had a spotlight. They endured tragedy, incarceration, and industry pressures that could have broken any group. Yet, even fractured, they returned stronger, wiser, and unapologetically themselves. Their melodies still echo, reminding fans that rap can be spiritual, rap can be emotional, and rap can change lives. Bone Thugs-n-Harmony didn't just leave a mark on hip-hop, they reshaped it. Every fast-flowed verse, every layer harmony, every prayer-filled hook tells the story of 5 voices who refused to be silenced. And even decades later, their music proves that true harmony, born from struggle and faith, never fades. The streets may have shaped them, fame may have tested them, and time may have aged them, but Bone Thugs-n-Harmony remains eternal. Their legacy is not just in albums or awards. It's in the lives they've touched, the artists they've inspired, and the music that continues to resonate across generations. From Cleveland to the world, Bone Thugs-n-Harmony is proof that even in chaos, harmony survives, and that the power of 5 voices, united by struggle and vision, can echo forever.